What's good, everyone? Welcome to the Pinnacle. Today we have a really special guest. His name is Eli Brown. If you're not familiar with him, this will be a really important podcast. It's a really good one in getting to know him, the way he thinks. One of his most notable recent accomplishments is his work on Drake's Certified Lover Boy album. Keep in mind that when we recorded this episode, Drake's House album hadn't dropped yet, so keep that context in there while you listen to these questions and answers. I'm not going to delay this any longer. Please enjoy this interview, and as always, share it and help us grow, comment, all of that stuff. It really, really helps. Thank you.
What's good? I'm Eli Brown, or like, as everybody tries to call me, God bless Eli. I did some stuff with Young Thug, Chris Brown, Drake, Giveon, Lil Durk, Jaden Smith, and Fetty Wap. Music producer from Toronto.
First of all, I just want to thank you for coming on. I know a lot of people are going to appreciate this. Where did music first get introduced into your life? Was it at an early age, or your interest in music?
My interest in music really started at I think grade 11 high school, where I really searched and became a taster, you could say. I listened to a lot of Joey Badass, Capital T's, and I love those jazz hip hop beats. I just kept searching and finding Kendrick Lamar, all these artists, real lyrical rappers. Because at the time I was really big fan of the rhetoric and whatnot. For beats per se, it kind of came just a little after that. Again, obviously, man's were dabbling into rapping himself, and I really love Wonder Girl's production. And Wonder Girl is a very inspiring story for me. At 16, producing for Jay-Z, and that time, I was a big hip hop nerd. I'm like, Jay-Z, one of the best rappers ever. A girl from Brampton, 16, that's crazy. And from there, it just kind of turned into more.
Yeah, man. And then how did specifically, I see what you're saying about Wonder Girl. I remember when that happened too. That was really, really crazy. And I remember watching Battle of the Beatmakers growing up and stuff and all that. So definitely see where you're coming from. When it comes to actually making beats, what was your first start there? Or samples, whichever came first?
I was making beats first. I was at this youth program trying to get my 40 hours. Back in grade 12 or grade 13, one of the two. I did a program called Eclipse, which was a youth against violence program, but you can go there and just, sit through the program, 4-week program, and learn how to make music. And my homie at the time recommended us to go there. He's like, yo, they got FL, they can show us how to make beats. And I'm like, make beats? Oh, I need to know how to do that. So I went. And I was just showing up every day. Even had nothing to do after school. I just get up and go straight to this place called Eclipse. It's wake up, go to Eclipse. Wake up, go to Eclipse. Shit like that.
Fire. And how old did you say you were at that time?
I don't know if I was 17 or if I was 18. One of the two.
Yeah. And what were your aspirations growing up?
I wanted to be a producer. I wanted to be an entrepreneur. Or at that time it was engineer. My concept of engineer was I thought Thomas Edison was an engineer or some shit. I just knew I wanted to be an inventor or whatever and a music creator,
Mm-hmm.
So wild. And work with big artists and whatever.
Yeah. And then what was your first placement?
It was some small joint, Jaden Smith, back on my shit with AO and Keys and Keanu Beats. That's my first producer advance, first a little bit of publishing,
Yeah.
Stuff like that.
Yeah, no, I actually remember when that happened. I was actually a huge fan of Jaden Smith, growing up, coming out of high school, so when that dropped and I saw a bunch of the boys were producing for him, that was really dope.
Yeah. He made some good music. At that time, he was pretty cool. Icon, Living, friggin'
Fire. Yeah.
Calabasas freestyle. Jaden Smith had a little bit of a wave. I ain't gonna lie to you.
I want to ask, how did the Kingsway stuff come about?
Oh yeah, when I did the Kingsway packs.
Yeah.
Couple of things. I was pretty early into like the sample scene, like before really anybody in the city. Amongst like the newest news producers, you know, away from Frank Dukes, whatever. Like me and Ford and I were probably the two like earliest people putting out sample packs. And I remember sending samples to this one kid, and he sent it to another homie, who sent it to another homie, because they always go to this one stew called HOB. And it reached one of my homies over there in the and I was just he reached out to me like a day later. Yo, I heard you from here. I'm like, okay, what's good? Then after I went to this like conference like the next day, and after he was there, like, and after I said what's up and shit, like, you know, I went to HOB Frank's studio that was out here for a bit, just learning from guys, just like, you know, playing with hardware, seeing them do interesting like effects and stuff, picking up some plug-in gems, you know, and whatnot. And then boom, like all I know is one day, like when my homie on Instagram was to say, yo, Frank's following you or something, like, you know.
Yeah.
I didn't realize this. And another guy's like, oh, yo, Frank's following you. And I'm like, okay. Like, the first time I heard it, I thought it was not real. I'm like, he's not. There, I guess I went and checked he was. And I thought, just DM'd him. He'd already been in the studio. My bad. He'd already been in the studio, but I never really, like, you know, talked to him. Yeah, freaking DM'd him. He said, yo, come by to the studio. Came through to the studio. We had a sit down. We're just talking about some stuff, where I want to be and stuff and whatever. And he's like, yo, let's do Kingsway. And yeah, that was it.
That's dope. That's dope.
Yeah.
What do you think is one thing, if anything, that people get misunderstood about you?
Oh, misunderstood. That's a good question. I guess it's just my intent. I guess it's just my intentions, really. Like, I feel like no one really understood what I was trying to do when I was selling packs online. No one really understood what I was trying to do when I did classes, and no one understood when, like, I mean, the loophole stuff was a little bit understandable, but no one understood when I was just doing all these other things and posting like videos on Instagram. Like, all those were just like a part of the plan of what I had going on and what I was trying to do. And I guess it could be mistaken as, oh, he's just kind of just a random, like trying to be an influencer or like a producer influencer, or just like, we don't know what mans are on. And as well as I'm misunderstood as being a, like, you know, a kind person. And I feel like that can be taken as like either have ulterior motives or I'm too soft or I'm naive or something, you know?
What was that last part? Sorry.
Or I'm naive or something like that.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, that makes sense. No, I see what you're saying. I mean, you are a very nice guy, but I would personally never mistake you for naive. That'd be insane. But I can see how, you know, people do that with some people, you know what I'm saying? It's just how, but
yeah, especially with this game where it's like there's a lot of sharks, you know, once you're like, you're not moving like your hard body, it's almost like, there you go, like we can trick him or something, or he's you know, they start to try and stun you.
Yeah, and I think one of the things that I really admire about you is, like, for me, I love to learn and I read a lot. So when I see like you posting stories about you reading certain types of books, and you're always learning about different types of things that you're interested in, I mean, you're a busy guy. So when you're reading certain books, like, what draws you to certain types of books and certain types of learning? Like, what inspires that?
I mean, I carve a space out, like, going back to saying I'm a busy person, I carve a space out just to like acquire new knowledge, you know, and just learn. I follow a lot of pages online, like Twitter, Instagram, just to keep my mind fresh and my, you know, the TL wholesome. And sometimes they have some great book recommendations, or like if I'm going through a certain problem, like, let's say like I need to grow like loop or something, I'll go find a book that help me learn how to grow that, you know, or just something, a new topic that just kind of comes out of me, like, yo, what's marketing? Like, I want to understand marketing in depth. I'll go find a book for that and find great classic books of all times that just kind of like embark like all the, foundational knowledge for a guy like me or for anybody to really pick up and just learn,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I love books that make my head hurt.
Yeah.
I ain't trying to just be like everybody else.
When you were uploading, especially when you were uploading, like I remember when I was on Twitter and I'd see a lot of your snippets of your samples, like in your voice notes and stuff. Was that at a point where you realized that your samples were like some different? Like, were you always kind of knowing that, this is like some fresh next level, like I've really hit something here? Or was that what was the thought process in that?
I mean, it was like open collaboration, really. Like, I was just doing that to find new people to work with, but as well as to get feedback and to see if I could push in, even further. Like, I maximized to my own self, my own ear. Like, yeah, this is next level, like to myself, but
right.
You see how people respond to that, and if I'm right or wrong, and I'll make an assumption, and after I'll throw it to the world, and the world will give me back an answer.
I like that. I like that a lot. Do you find that your confidence, like when you're making samples at this point, are you always very confident in your samples, or is it always kind of like a, figuring out process type thing? And were you always confident in making samples and beats, or was it something that kind of came over time?
It came over time. When I started seeing other people's process of how easy their stuff was,
right.
I just gave me some assurance. Like, I don't need to do too much, or I do these areas a lot and don't do too much here. Confidence. I have natural just like confidence issues from young, so I'm trying to like. I worked hard to like undo that and put the hours in. Put my work side by side with other people's work that, all people like this and laugh like this type of shit. And after kept doing that, and now it's just, I'm at a point where it's like, all right, cool. Like, I'll know when it's hard, when it's not hard. And if it's not hard, I'll find out, Yeah,
absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's the thing with like creating and putting it out there, man. Like in general, that takes a lot of confidence even to just put stuff out there for people to see, period.
Yeah.
All right, man. I gotta ask the question, or one of the questions that everybody's, I'm sure, here for. Like, tell me as much as you can about the story about how your Drake placement and, your Drake, Lil Durk placement came about, and Giveon.
Like, the backstory to that was like, I was in the ends and I really love this record, Know Me, by Nav. Know Me. She was
absolutely,
like,
man.
It was produced by AP and Logic, AP Austin Powers and Pro Logic. I just love that record. I played that like the whole year, like on my Spotify raps. Like that was like the number one song. And I'm like, man, I work with this AP guy. I went through all his stuff. He worked with like Trippie Redd and a couple other people, and he worked with people that inspired me too. And he had like similar beats to them, which was like OZ, Seven Thomas, and whatever. And I thought those guys were like the younger at that time. Like, they were the younger, cooler guys. Like, they weren't like the forefront. Like, oh, these are the main guys in the industry. Like, those are guys are like the coming up, but like they're the hottest coming up, in my opinion. So I was just trying to work with him. I kept a big tab on him, just in general. And I went to LA. I was in the studio, Traplanik. And after he was just there working with this artist, I think it wasn't Simba. It was somebody. It was almost some next guy, but he was working with this artist over there, right?
Okay.
And I saw him. I recognized him because obviously I've been a big fan of the work and whatever. And I was sitting there for a minute. I'm like, yo, should I holler at this guy or not? Like, should I, I'm like, yo, fuck it. Like, I'm going to Toronto. If this guy airs me, he's just like, it is what it is. Like, I wasn't going to take that chance. My vision was like, yo, da, 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 da. And I'm like, all right, I want to holler at the guy. I'm like, yo, like, whatever, I fucked, da, 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 da. Rock with what you do, whatever. I say, yo, hard, check my number. Yo, you got a room right now? Let's cook up, da, 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 da. I'm like, nah, whatever. I didn't have a room. Nothing like that, right? went back to Toronto. He finally hollers back at me to like link up again, but by that time he was gone. Like I was gone actually. I went back to Toronto.
Right.
And shit. Then fucking went back to Toronto. Tried to link up with him again when he came out here because he was working with like Preem and whatever. Didn't link up, but going back and forth over about a year and a half. Then after, he hit me one day to send him some ideas. I finally sent an idea. That's like the first pack I sent in. That's like probably like the first pack I sent this guy since meeting him. And after offer, this guy's like, "Yo, hold this one." It was a sample I made in one of my sample classes called "Out of Here." It was like AOAUTTTAHERER. Like it was mad typos. It's just like I was geeking over it, right? If you see the video, I'm gonna try and see if I can find a clip of the video, post that. But we were both geeking over it, like, yo, this is like crazy. Watch, this sample is out of here. Like it's only a place in no time. So he told me to hold that one, and he never told me for the longest time. He would just routinely hit me saying, "Is that sample held? Is that sample held? Is that sample held?" Like type of shit. It was funny.
Yeah.
And after paperwork, splits, dropped. It dropped. I didn't even know what the track was called, until I saw the real paperwork and saw the name, and after. I just got the paperwork, and I think I don't know if it was the same day or the day before. You saw an album in the I saw an album in the Bible, and I'm like, yo, this is crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah. But actually, low key, what's even more funny to add to the story. I think the day of, AP is he sent me a gift, like a little surprise, and it was a leak of the song. It was like a 30-second leak of the song. You want to hear what the song sounds like? Here you go.
That's crazy. But what was it? Was there a moment where you found out oh shit, I got one with Drake? Like that? Was there a moment that it kind of all set in, or?
I mean, more around paperwork times, really.
Right.
Kind of those guys got to move a certain way just to keep the certain things under wrap, because it's just when it comes to an artist like Drake, the drops are very strategic, and they want it to be a surprise, or they want it to be when it's their time,
Of course. So tell me about LA a little bit. First of all, how many times have you been there?
Like five or six times.
Five or six times. And how was your first experience out there, and what prompted you to go to LA for the first time?
I was just idealistic as fuck. I was just like, LA's the spot to go to. I was reading articles at that time, because I used to be an avid article reader back when the Fader was popping, right. All those guys, whatever, and they're talking about LA and how it's a place to be. So, bro, I had my last $500 to my name. Low key wasn't even low-key, I actually owed more money, and I didn't have no money to my name, but I had $100, and whatever. Uh-huh. Bought the ticket. I just went, And after as I was going, I was telling people, I'm going to LA, and after that, when as a group, it was cool. I learned a lot. I peeked behind the curtain of life, not even just LA, but life. What people are actually out here doing, crazy things. Mans are going to the studio session, get paid $7,000 just to go to the studio session, working with the biggest artists and having these guys contacts and being friends with them. I'm like, bro, why I did not know this existed. I was so limited to the life I seen, prior. Yeah. So when that bubble burst, I feel like that allowed a lot of great things to happen.
Absolutely. And when it comes to, let's say you've got a producer who's always worked from their computer, they haven't left their, setup. They've always worked through online. Would you, this is kind of general advice. Would you be telling them to go and get out and go to places like LA? Or would you be saying, it's dependent on the person? How important is a trip like LA, or just getting out to a bigger city where artists and studios are.
I'm a big believer in like compound interest, and like I believe small ideas can turn into big ideas as time goes on. And some people just need to be out there and be exposed to the scene. I would say like for a kid that's always on his computer making beats, bro, I'm gonna assume that they're networking on Instagram a lot. Hopefully. Yeah. If they're not, they need to. Then go to LA. You know what I'm saying? Then go to LA. But if you're a kid always making beats at your crib, there has to be a reason. Ain't no way you're just making beats at your crib. If you're just doing it just cause, like you're just having beats on a hard drive, you're not going nowhere. Like you're not going nowhere. You had to be sending to somebody, either local artists or like just people online. So make sure you send a lot to people online. Reach out to people who live around that area or whatever, or in America or whatever, and have to coordinate a trip to go with some people and work, man.
Yeah.
I do hear a few people say, "Oh, LA, I didn't really experience much," and like they went to LA and all they're going to is Chick-fil-A every day, like,
bruh.
Like talk to people, like, come on.
Yeah, for real. Who do you go to when you're lost? Like when you, and it could be for anything really, but let's say but who do you go to when you're lost? I'll leave it a general question.
I mean, when I'm lost, I just kind of like sit with myself. I isolate. I'll like extract myself from everything. Even like right now, I feel like a little bit lost for the past like couple of weeks. I wasn't posting. Like people barely know that I'm there,
Yeah.
But I have some people for different things, like talking to my homie Prep sometimes just about some shit. I'll talk to AP here and there when I really need some certain answers, I feel, or if I just need to, just open up. Have some homies, real life homies, keep me grounded, just talk about some shit. And I have like good karma homies, like Cure, Waves, all these guys where I can just talk to them,
Yeah.
But I like to when I'm lost, I like to depend on myself. I like to sit with myself and just let the answers come to me.
When you started your sample making classes, first of all, I think that the way you've done them and the way you've set everything up and the respect that you've given everybody is like huge. Like I think you've put way more emphasis on the students than I would expect, honestly, anybody to. Like you went like above, like you went above and beyond with that. Was that always part of the plan, or was that something that as people started, getting into the classes?
It was always a part of the plan. When I start something, I know how it's going to end. I won't start something if I don't know how it's going to play out, for the most part. It was a part of the plan. Like when I came into the music industry, like one thing I picked out off rip was like education was missing. And by the time you got educated, you're already in the hole. Whatever that means to you, whether that's being in an unideal business situation or not ideal business situation, or just like at a roadblock in your career that was easily preventable and you don't realize it's preventable like years down the line. Like, I saw education problem. So like off rip, I'm like, yo, I want to teach people how to make, like when I first started making music, I was like, yo, I want to teach people something. Like I want to like help with the education side. By that time I was like new, so I was like still educating myself. And I made sure like I learned everything. I learned people's come ups. I learned like make whatever. I just learned anything, like mixing, whatever. You feel me? And the format, like I think I did my format a little bit different than like everybody, and which was the group classes. Or I feel like when I had people come in weekly, whether that was Nami and Beza, whatever, talk about their journey, just to give people perspective and create that kind of system, as well as I think I was probably the first one to do Zoom for real and cook up in front of people, as opposed to like just talking. Nothing's wrong with just talking, but like to actually cook up and break down stuff. I was probably one of the first people to push that boundary and whatever. But like it was not as things were taking off. Like I already had the vision for it when I started.
Got you. Well, that's a good quick one. What's your favorite instrument?
My voice? Jeez.
Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah. And when did that vocal sample, when did you start incorporating your vocals into samples?
Man, I remember I was trying to talk to someone and like, yo, that'd be dope if we can put like make samples and then be like songs. Like it sounds like as if it was an actual song. I'm not sure if the person shut me down or like the person just like, oh, like the person didn't really understand what I'm trying to say actually. The person didn't really understand what I meant when I'm like, yo, if we had songs as samples, like the same way you would chop up Bryson Tiller like a Jodeci sample and make it a Bryson beat. What if someone made that? That'd be sick.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
And after like before Coop had his drop the pack, he was doing it and sent it to some people. And like it was kind of hard. And after when he dropped his like the versions pack or like a pack before, I was like, God, he beat me to it. Like, I was so pissed. I just started doing it. I'm like, yo, what? Fuck it. I'm gonna start doing it. Like, whoever's man say I sound like Coop, whatever. But at that time, there was no such thing as sounding like Coop. It was too new.
Yeah. Yeah, man. Hey, man. Now you got a whole new sound. Like you got your own thing going.
Oh my God. I that's one thing I realized. Like, you had to be very, very specific to copy somebody. Like, you can do the same thing someone else is doing and it sounds different.
100%.
But the only way you can sound like them is if you copy, like, with Coop, you do the reverb and cut the highs out, then you're Coop. Then you have that room reverb and whatever. Then you try to sound like him. But I just did it, like, very sped and multiple, like, harmonies going against each other and it sounded different. Like, it had its own way. Yeah.
No, absolutely, man. That's the thing. It's funny you mentioned that you had this idea and then you heard Coop and then you were like, damn, he beat me to it. Now I just like, fuck it, I gotta go. Like I gotta start doing it. But it's funny that you say that because I remember around the time that I started hearing your samples, and I probably honestly I started hearing your samples probably later than other people. Like I was a little late to it because I saw your preview on Twitter and by that time it seemed like you were already popping. But I remember at that time, exactly what you said. Like, I remember being in my own studios and like in my own sessions and shit and like thinking that exact thought, like, yo, what if and people had done this before, but I hadn't seen it too much. And I was like, man, what if I just made the song that people will, sample? Like,
yeah.
Exactly. Right. So, and it was such a cool thought, but I never acted on it. And then I hear Coop's one thing, bro, but when I heard your samples, they literally sound like, they're crazy, bro. They're really, really crazy.
Yeah. I definitely did it. Like, for Coop was one of the really like vocal runs. Like, it was like the records, but not for real. But when I did it, I made sure it was like the records. Like, like, man was gonna ask me what song was this. Like, every other week, man was like, yo, what song is this? I'm like, it's not a song. Like,
yeah. And when you were making those, like, did you draw heavy inspiration from old records and have you always listened to old records or was that something you specifically did for those types of samples?
Well, I always listen to old records, but for certain samples, I listen to specific records. Like I'll fine tune it, where I'm like, I'm really trying to top this back and boom, like I'll draw from that inspiration, that reference.
When you're making samples, are you usually creating just straight off the dome or is there an idea you have in mind or is there straight up like a song or like an inspiration you pull up beforehand and you're like, all right, I'm gonna try and like get the vibe of this?
I mean, it's in between the two, man. Like I have like a catalog of vibes I want to make in my head, like a little Rolodex. Let me make this vibe. And as I'm creating like randomly, then it kind of moves into that world. With the Drake one, like that was a PARTYNEXTDOOR, Peace of Mind, where I got that little reference from. If you hear that progression, where it goes to that walk up from like the dominant chord all the way to that diminished chord, go listen to Peace of Mind, you'll hear that. It's saying the same thing. So it's like, it's in there. And I just kind of like search within myself to retrieve it as I'm cooking up. And after it can go any way, it can go to this. Like if I do something slightly different, I'll move, like different places.
Yeah. I got you. Here's a question that I ask people, and I don't ask it to like fish or like try and get like certain types of information. It's really just because it's a question that comes up a lot, especially with like new producers.
Okay.
So the question is, if someone came up to you, like he's like a producer and he's like, yo, Eli, like I can't, like, I need to make money. Like, I want to make money off this shit. Like, what's the, yeah, like, what's the path? You know, how do I do it?
All right, this is probably the first place I'll drop these kind of gems. Really being an entrepreneur, like the guys like Illmind, Taz Taylor, all these guys kind of like hint at it, where it's like their store and their endeavors are really what's making them more real money, right? So that'd be drum kits, pass the aux, sample classes, like stuff like that. But it has to genuinely help the community. It has to genuinely help, like, people. It has to add value to the whole market. I saw some beats online too. That's a nice little way of doing collabs with some BeatStars people. They're very, very kind, and they're like, yo, if you send me some stuff I might mess with that, I'll split the things with you. That's one easy way to get some like real money. We're talking like $50K a year plus if you play it smart. Having the entrepreneur mindset can get you quite a bit of money. Sometimes even more than the music itself. But if you stay dedicated and make your moves right and make that initial sacrifice to not have some money for a bit just to get some records or whatever, you can get a PRO advance, you know what I'm saying, for the music you've worked on. And that could be a living wage for a PRO advance if you rack up a nice little bit on songs, you know? Or a publishing deal, which will be a lot of money at once. But in all these paths, you still need to dedicate into getting better at your craft and adding some real value to other people way more than yourself, and not being thirsty in the meanwhile.
Facts. You know? Gems right there. Yeah. I appreciate that.
But like, there is money. There's first of all, there's one thing. There's money in music for sure. A lot of people trying to say there's no money in music or whatever. They're trying to have this kind of weird notion. And two, get creative in how you're gonna make your money. Don't necessarily have to do it one way. Like Lupo is making a lot of money. For me and the homie, it's like just because we did something that actually helped the community, actually got people either sign records or just be cooler with their friends and up their game. Like, you know, there's a value in place for that, you know?
Absolutely. Yeah, that's real. What's one piece of equipment other than your laptop that is like the one that you're like, man, I can't live without that, or that's like my favorite? And it could be a physical, it could be like a VST, like a plugin, it could be anything. Yo,
so before I give you like the funny answer is going to be my mouse, my Razer mouse. Bro, this is so sick. Like, I can make beats, I can make a full fire beat in like 20 minutes with this type of mouse. Like, it's so fast. Other than that,
buttons, is it like the buttons on it or something, or you're just, what do you mean? Like,
it's like the sensitivity is pretty good. It can go from with precision very, very fast. And it's just like a fast like mouse. Like, I set my settings to fast as well, so it's like I can make, as I said, a full like proper beat in 20 minutes. Not like I just made a beat in 20 minutes and it sounds weird, but like a full proper beat. Other than that, VST, I love Flangus. I've been loving Flangus and vocoder a lot for that Toronto sound, like that old school Drake watery feel. What else? What kind of equipment? Effects, VSTs. Yeah, that's pretty much it. Right? That's pretty much the foundation. That's essentials. The essentials. Everything else is pretty like basic. I like headphones too, like my Audio Technicas.
Which Audio Technicas are you using?
I'm using the M60, but I like the M50 better. M60 is cool. Like, it has noise cancellation, and it's like unique design. Yeah, it's cool.
Yeah, I used the M40s back, and someone recommended, bro. They're cool, but like, I don't know what it was. It's just with my ear. Like, I was getting the worst mixes out of them. Like, I tried for so long. I was like, I just sold them, invested in these, and they're better for sure.
Oh, the AKG?
No, these are the DT 770s.
Sennheiser?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. No,
Yeah.
I like more like body and like low end on those like ones. There's like very top end.
Yeah,
But
you feel? Yeah. No, that's fair. That's fair. That's actually fair. What's one thing that someone can do or a quality that someone can have that makes you immediately not want to work with them or like have any sort of relationship with them?
no integrity. That's pretty much it. Everything else is whatever. If someone doesn't have basic integrity, you don't want to work with those people. You know,
Yeah.
I don't care if someone's like an asshole, if someone's like anal about I don't like this or whatever. If there's like integrity within that, all right, cool. Like that doesn't face me. Let's go. Like let's keep
Respect.
working. You know, I gotta respect it. Like
Yeah. And then what about like a quality that you see in somebody that you're like, that's like, I like that. Like I do want to work with that person.
positive energy.
Positive energy?
Positive is because we're all, even if the person's not too good, if the person has a great mindset that they're gonna get eventually great and they're actually working towards it, they're gonna be unstoppable. So that person you always want to work with,
Mm-hmm.
without a doubt.
What's the biggest thing you're struggling with right now? Like, and you don't have to go into too much detail depending on the answer, but it could be life, business, music, anything.
For sure. Time. Understand how to allocate my time better and work with people to make my time much more easier. Right now, I'm struggling to get my classes under wraps because it's like I'm trying to manage it. The classes, the learning, music, myself, my own personal development, and what I want for myself, and like without getting caught into like this workaholic stage that I was in like a little in the past, and I kind of like fucked up like my mind and my mental, my mind and my body really. Going 7 days a week because there's a point where I was going 7 days a week. I was like, all right, boom, boom, boom. I did, It's cool and get you your shit off the ground. But after a while, when you pay the price, when you're like out of it, you're like, oh fuck, I cannot do this again.
Yeah.
So I'm struggling with that. The solution is just like working with other people where I don't need to be working at. Same way like Elon Musk is not making all the planes, or he's not making all the beats. Like he's making the beats, but he's collaborating with people, to get inspired and stuff like that.
Yeah. What do you feel like your biggest failure has been thus far, and like what did you learn from it?
Oh my gosh, taking care of myself, man. Oh my gosh, that's one of my biggest failures, not taking care of myself. And that's like something where like I like sit down and I think, man, fuck, I didn't take care of myself enough. I wish I was like much more leaner, much more stronger, much more sharper, and had better memory.
Bro, you can get there though.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. But I see what you're saying. Yeah.
But it's still a failure for all the past years because like everything else is like pretty cool. Like I went to live in LA 6 months. Got over a dream record. I'm in a certain point in my life where it's like I'm content with some things. So like the biggest failure has to be like, socials is cool, like not that deep, but just taking care of myself. That's something that like really bothers me.
But man, I tell producers all the time, like, I mean, not just producers, I feel like anybody at this point with COVID and everything really, but like usually creatives or people that are like very into their work or like workaholics, like health is mad important. I've learned that lesson. I know other producers, friends of mine that have learned that lesson. But yeah, that's real. What's the best compliment you've ever received?
Best compliment? Shit. You're a genius for this or you're a genius for that. When people realize, wow, like I'm really on, as opposed to what I'm doing at face value.
Nice.
Yeah.
I feel like I know the answer to this, but I'll ask it anyways. What's your thought process when it comes to making beats? Like, there's people that it's just really about that whole Twitter argument when it's like quality, quantity. People are arguing about like, yeah.
Bad. So you want to know? So quality, quantity. The answer to that is whatever you want, man. Like you need quality, you need quantity. Like why the fuck is it? I don't know out there. Like the fuck. Um,
Yeah.
into my process of making beats is my recent process has been asking sample makers to make unique samples, like a sample that does not sound like something in their pack or it does not sound like it exists, challenging them. And after hearing the idea and finding the best line of action to take, either I go and be creative along with whatever loop I'm working on, or I just do the easy thing. Let this loop creative and let it just be easy, step,
Yeah.
couple bounces, 808, whatever,
Yeah, absolutely.
Not trying to be overly creative. But yeah, quantity and quality both really. Come on, man. Like Southside is good. Like he makes, and the artists he work with, like they need quantity. I feel like quantity is slept on Twitter. Like when people talk about quality over the quantity is slept on. Like you guys are tripping. You want quantity, quality. Like you want like a lot of quality.
Yeah, facts. I mean, that's literally my thing too, where I just like, why are they making it so black and white? Like, it's, you could, ideally it is both. Like, ideally you get to a place where you can actually do both. Like, that's the ideal spot. But there's like different ways to go about it and different answers for different situations. What are your biggest goals? Like, what are some of your biggest goals? Because I know you're an ambitious guy, like I don't know it directly, but I feel like everything I've seen from you, I feel like you do have some pretty strong goals that you have for your future.
Man, I'm trying to create a whole university for producers. I'm trying to have my own versions, producer union people are talking about, and I'm starting it through like educating people through samples and turn it into, business and samples to create like an academy, and an academy into a firm, and after grow from there. That's my big goal is to. I see people talk about the producer union and all these things, and it's like, bro, I think it's kind of complex. Gotta like find a small area, a niche area to attack and grow from there. So that's a big goal of mine.
But yeah, I really appreciate one of the things you've brought up in multiple answers is the fact that you really care about bringing value to other people first. Like,
for sure,
the way you achieve your goals is by bringing value to other people or the situation that you're in. That's really important to know,
sure.
I think.
For sure, because the value's gonna go somewhere else. Like Apple and Spotify have been taking the value of the music industry. Napster was, and LimeWire. They gave value to people, giving people the music they wanted, and they just, well, let's like try and keep it within ourselves and grow from there.
Yeah. If you could go back to your 16-year-old self or high school, what advice would you give him?
Believe, man. You're gonna do everything you say, so just believe. Like, want more and be the ruthless and be careful of certain people's energy, people who are troubled, because they'll take you off your track.
That's facts. Yeah, that's really facts. If you could recommend one piece of media to someone, so like it could be a book, video, song, movie, like anything, blog post, podcast episode, what would it be?
I'll do one for creatives and after just regular people. So regular people, a good book or podcast or whatever. I like to follow like Twitter accounts. A couple of them like Naval, who spits a lot of facts. I like to follow this. What's this guy's name again? He talks about community all the time. Whatever. I follow the guy from Gumroad that made Gumroad too. Accounts like those, like big entrepreneurs. You feel me? They always give some knowledgeable advice for like the lows. For creatives, a good podcast and things to learn from. I mean, Elmine's podcast is still like relevant to me. Blab Chat. Other than that, what should producers learn? Producers should, same thing as the first one, just like go follow a bunch of like business people and listen to them speak,
Do you have a dream placement right now? Because I feel like you're from Toronto, bro. You work with Drake. Like that is just...
That's 38.
Yeah, exactly. Like, so I'm curious, like, do do you have a dream placement right now, or you kind of?
And my dream placement is a Billboard #1 song with my artist. That's
nice. Nice.
My artist.
And are you
dream number, other than that, I want one with Ariana Grande. I want one with Travis Scott. I want one with Justin Bieber. I want one with Taylor Swift. I want one like Taylor Swift. I just want like some crazy ones where it's like I know everybody will hear it, like Katy Perry. Lady Gaga more than like out of all that name, Lady Gaga the most, but like Katy Perry, like, I just want to give people one of those tracks they'll remember, you know. And I feel like only certain artists really have that pull right now. But a Billboard #1 song with my artist is a dream placement.
Fire. And are there any artists you're working with real close right now?
I'm working closely with this one kid, Ryan Douglas. He's pretty fire.
Ryan Douglas?
Yeah, Ryan Douglas. That's my dog.
I'm gonna have to check him out.
Yeah, hell yeah. From Brampton, 17, crazy voice. Think he'll be big.
Who are and it depends. When I ask this, I am curious to see what you say, but who are your top 5 sample makers?
Bro, like people make different vibes, man. Like there's no such thing as top 5. I mean, I like Elkin stuff a lot. I feel like he brings a certain energy. He's very creative. BLK has this moodiness to him that's just mad dope. I rock with his samples a lot. Like if I could tie BLK with someone, I'll say Leon Thomas. Leon Thomas got some crazy samples and ideas. You know? Me and him cooked some crazy shit too as well. So fire. There's a lot of them, man. Like Elkin, BLK, Leon. That was 1 and 2. Who else? Sample makers.
We can leave it at that if you want. You know.
No. I'm trying to make a nice list. Like there's a lot dope ones, but like, ooh, for real. I like Rex Kudo, I guess. Rex Kudo. Rex Kudo. Yeah, let's leave it at that. Let's just leave it at that.
That works for me.
Oh, bad.
What's the best studio session you've ever had? You could even talk about it, yeah.
It's too hard to remember best studio session. Man, like, I mean, there's a 80 Glam session with me, 49, London Sear, 1K, and we're all vibing like a few years ago.
That sounds fire.
We're just going in. Genius came in, knocking out beats. Like, that was a little vibe. There were some big sessions in LA that I thought were dope. I had a session with Prep and G-Rai one time, which was kind of cool. Like, but that was like not necessarily in terms of work. It was just to like cook with those guys. That was like mad dope to me. Yeah.
And then
my sessions to Leon, you know.
What'd you say?
My sessions were Leon.
Oh yeah.
Mad dope. Yeah.
What about the worst studio sessions you've had?
Oh man, yo, Frank, you're gonna be in trouble, yo, man. There was one session where the engineer was being a little weird, man. Like he was asking me if I was gonna pay him it was in my session. He was gonna ask me to pay to mix his if I can pay to mix the songs and how I can be the guy for him and whatever. It was just like a mad weird etiquette. Like, like I was sitting here like, dog, like I don't know, this is not even my session like that. I just kind of came to learn for somebody. Like, you asked me if I want to pay to mix the songs and how I want the songs to go. Like, I'm just here to run the beats and get the hell out of here. That was one weird session. Homie passed me his jewel. I took a hit of the jewel and fell asleep. Another weird session was, yo, when a rapper's homie just comes out of nowhere and hits you on some, and like I'm talking about a specific one, but I'm gonna say in general, like I see that sending beats, it's like, yo, I'm a rapper, like, yo, fuck with me, like that. Nah, you just ruined the vibe for me, bro.
Oh my god,
that was like one story. I mean, happened like twice, but like once in particular, yeah.
If you had $1,000 to spend on your career, like let's say earlier on,
only 1,000,
only 1,000, yeah, that's why I ask it. Because you got like only 1,000 to spend.
Right.
Let's say you already have a laptop.
Okay, yeah.
You know, you've got FL, like you've got the basics, bare minimum.
Yeah.
Where are you spending that 1,000?
The 1,000. All right, I had the bare minimum already. Gotta spend my money correct. You know what I'll do? Buy cover art and drop a sample pack. Open up a store and sell a sample pack. So nice. So far, $30. Nice little artwork from my homie K1. Crazy out the artworks.
Yeah.
And so open up a sample pack store, and then after buy a couple like more UAD. Actually, no, I have enough UAD plugins that I bought. But I'd buy. Some plugins are expensive, man. I'll buy a couple of like contact pianos. Like I'll just like look for like one of those like weird sites and buy like contact pianos. Just to get some vibes and whatever. And then buy a couple of like in-person like percussion instruments. And the last thing I'll spend my dollars on, let's say I had like a couple of hundreds left, like a dynamic mic. I would want a SM7B.
Fire. Yeah.
SM7B, yeah. Like one of those like two ones that Michael Jackson used,
Yeah.
So,
what are some of the? I mean, I was gonna ask what your morning routine looks like, but I mean, I could ask that, or along that line, like, what are some of the more important habits you feel like you've
acquired
picked up on?
Yeah. So the important habit I picked up is writing my gratitude journal. Training my brain to like allow like things that make me happy and pleasant. I'm a big believer like the first start of your day determines the rest of your day. One thing that was foundational and that changed my life basically was reading in the morning and the night, right before I went to sleep and right when I woke up. And yeah, that's just that. Those just held me down.
No, those are real. Yeah. I'll ask one last question. And it's kind of different. I wonder what you'd say to this, but what's a piece of advice you'd give to an independent artist?
Independent artist. Have your vision, man. Like, don't just try to have people try to give you your vision. Don't just have people just trying to rock with you and believing you're just the name. Have a vision and find a way to outsource those like the steps to your vision to other people, and that's how you can form a team as opposed to just you're just my dogs just because they're my dogs. They're let's say Simon Gang. Like we're all Simon Gang. It's my producer, my videographer, all Simon Gang. No, like
yeah.
Have a plan, be like, I want to do this, show it to people, start by yourself, record your crib, don't depend on going to the studio all the time, but record your crib, have your setup, work yourself, and then after invite people to your process, into your world, and people are more likely to work with you that way. I see so many independent artists like feeling, oh man, people don't want to rock with me, they don't want to support me. It's like, well, no one knows how to support you, and there's no vision, and no one wants to do things blindly. You know, people would rather chase placements because like there's a plan. It's like you do this, get placements, get money. Like it's step by step. You know what to do, as opposed to working with some artists. Like, where is this going? Is there promotion? Is there, you know, like, what is there?
Yeah, no, I feel you, man. I feel like a lot of independent artists, I feel like, and producers too, but I see it a lot with artists where especially when they're first starting out, they get very upset if like their friends aren't fully supporting them and stuff. And I'm like,
yeah, it's like, it's not that, bro. It's not that. Like,
yeah. Well, man, I appreciate your time, man, for real. Again, like, I'm blessed to have you on. We're all blessed to learn from you.
yeah, I'm blessed to be blessed by people.
We're looking forward to more of the moves you'll be making, the things you'll be doing for producers and artists.
For sure.
Yeah, man, I'll let you just plug yourself, like whatever you want to say. I'm gonna have your links obviously linked in the description, all that.
I mean, go follow Nahum and Louis, OA Louis Flynn, Nahum.io on Instagram. Those are the Loophole homies. You know, we're the gang, we're the team that help put things out for the community. Louis been going crazy on the content creation side. I'm trying to get more into it, and as well as Nahum. Yeah, follow Loophole, and yeah, just like if man's providing value and gave you some sauce and gems, like be sure to reach out and show some love, and I'll try to show some love back.
Bet.
Yes, sir.
Bet. Thank you, Eli. I appreciate it, man.